Good Wednesday afternoon to you. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. A little later in the show, Mac Robinson from 92.3. The Fan will join us. We will talk plenty of Browns, of course, the Odell Beckham Jr. situation, the Baker Mayfield situation, and there's this football game Sunday with the Bengals as well. 1 o'clock, Browns 4-4, trying to get things headed in the right direction, and this would qualify as a distraction from that. By now, everybody knows we dealt with it yesterday. Odell Beckham Sr., Odell's dad, posting the Odell is open, Baker is missing him video. Well, today the Browns dealt with that. Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry told Odell Beckham Jr. he was excused from practice, didn't get to Berea. They told him to stay home. Here is Kevin Stefanski talking about the Odell Beckham situation and that decision to tell him not to come to Berea today.
We decided that, I think, this morning he was not here.
Kevin, when you say Andrew and Odell's representatives are continuing to talk, I guess what does that mean? What are they discussing?
Yeah, I think they're discussing a lot of things. And the truth is, guys, I don't have a ton of details for you. I'm happy to answer as much as I can, but I think some things we'll know more as we go.
What kind of is he asked to be released?
Yeah, again, that's something that I think his reps and Andrew would talk through.
What kind of distraction is this for you, Kevin, with those videos and all this talk?
Yeah, I think, Jeff, we work really hard in this building to concern ourselves with things that are going on in this building and concern ourselves with the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's really where we get laser focused on the task at hand.
Let's welcome in Hayden Grove, reporter for cleveland.com, as well as the plain dealer. And Hayden, I think the Browns handled this situation the right way. There's not much else that you could do, and Odell's future with the Browns very much up in the air right now.
Yeah, it is. I think the Browns have, we don't really know how they've handled it. Honestly, you say they've handled it well. I think in a sense they've handled it well. But we don't know how they're handling it behind the scenes. We don't know what's going on with Odell. I mean, he's kind of cut off communication to a lot of people at this point, it seems. It's something that you kind of knew could happen with a guy like Odell. When he's not happy, it gets nasty. It gets, sometimes it gets, him really upset. And I don't know what the best way is going to be to handle it going forward in terms of, do you keep him on the team? Do you put him on IR? Do you, release him? I mean, what is the way to go? So the Browns have some decisions to make. And again, we'll see how this situation plays out, because obviously it's not working out the way that, anybody wants it to right now. So we'll see if that continues going forward. But until then, we'll have to, keep an eye on things and how they, play out in the near future.
I guess what I was getting at is they needed to do something. They couldn't let that go undetected, or they had to have a reaction. And the reaction is probably, all right, take a step aside and, let's see if you really want to be a part of the team for the rest of the season going forward. And I think that's where they're at. That's kind of, they will probably be criteria that if he's coming back, he's going to have to meet, and he may not want to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's definitely going to have to be some conversations, going to have to be some sit downs, going to have to be some clearing of the air. And you're right. I think there are going to be certain stipulations to, hey, if you want to come back on this team, you want to play on Sunday, then you're going to have to, address your teammates. You're going to have to address Baker. You're going to have to open up, with Coach Stefanski. I mean, there's a lot of trust that was lost here, because it doesn't seem like, it seems like, yes, a lot of it was Odell's dad. And obviously every kid or every, dad wants their kid to play well and be successful. But it seems like maybe a little bit of this was orchestrated by Odell too. Some of the tweets from other people saying free Odell, I think a lot of it could have been orchestrated by him in that regard. So there's a lot of trust earned back here in a lot of different ways. And could it be done by Sunday? I suppose it could. If you really came out and said, hey, this is wrong. I got to be a better teammate. I got to be a better human. I got to focus on the needs of the team and not take away from the team and distract the team like I've been doing. I apologize on behalf of my dad. I think there just has to be a lot said if Odell Beckham Jr. is going to find a way back on this football team. There's going to have to be a lot said and done if he wants to play. And if he doesn't, then they're obviously not going to, have him out there. So we'll have to see what happens, by the time the Browns play on Sunday.
Baker Mayfield addressed the media and talked about his reaction to that post by Odell Sr.
Obviously, naturally, he wants his son to succeed.
I can't blame him for that. I want Odell to succeed. And that's where we were at, and or at least so I thought. So that's all I really have about that one.
Have you spoken to Odell since yesterday?
No.
What was your reaction to the video just in general?
I was probably just about as surprised as all of you were.
Is the relationship salvageable?
I mean, I don't know. I thought we had a very open line of communication going into it, so we'll see. You know, like I said, more surprised than anything, as everybody was. So we'll see going forward, and there's always room for improvement in any relationship. So we'll see.
And Hayden, the other thing that's interesting, Baker said he hasn't heard from or talked to Odell. Kevin Stefanski said the same thing. So there has been no communication between Odell and the coach or the quarterback.
That's not good. I mean, obviously, when you're talking about any football team, you want to talk about communication. I mean, communication is key on the field. It's key off the field. And Baker Mayfield said it. He thought they had an open line of communication to where, you know, if Odell was unhappy with something, he would express it. But now it seems like that line of communication has been either cut off or has been paused. And that's not something that that the Browns want to deal with. They want Odell to be up front. They want Odell to be honest. They want Odell to talk and to address the situation. And Baker Mayfield said during his press conference, he wants to hear it. If things aren't going well, tell me why. Maybe we can, and again, we can fix it. Or maybe Odell just thinks it's an unfixable situation and now there's no need to communicate. So I don't know what the answer is, but the problem is definitely that you're right. There's no communication happening between Odell and the head coach. There's no communication happening between Odell and Baker Mayfield. And again, that to me is probably not a good sign that things can be fixed by this point.
Well, Baker Mayfield was asked point blank if he and Odell can be teammates again. Here's Baker Mayfield on that topic.
I mean, I would take anything to have a winning team right now. You know, our focus needs to be on winning, and you know, anything like this that's stuff that's created on the outside, drama-wise, takes away from the focus and attention to detail that we need to have, which is exactly the reasons why we haven't been able to win, as we haven't, you know, executed well enough, haven't, you know, schemed it up to be able to do that, and so I think a lot of this is frustration. That's the tension that's built up because, you know, we're not playing how we should be, and we want to be better. We want to be better than 500, but that's where we're at right now. So it's time to look in the mirror and handle those things internally, because nothing on the outside is going to help us. It's only going to create drama, and that's just that's a fact.
And that's well stated as to where the Browns are as a team, 4-4, and needing to start playing significantly better.
Yeah, that's part of the thing that surprises me about this whole thing with Odell is that, you know, they're not playing up to their expectations, right? But they're not losing, you know, a lot of games. I mean, they're not losing every game. They're 4-4. They won half the games they played. They've lost half the games they played, and I think that goes to show that, you know, they've done some good things, but they haven't done well enough. And I think Baker's right that they need to pay attention to detail. They need to execute the way they need to execute. And at this point, they haven't done that. So I guess my point in all of this is that, you know, I thought Odell, maybe if they start to go 4-8, okay, that's an issue. But if they can beat Cincinnati, and this is taking away from, you know, the focus being on Cincinnati, if they can beat Cincinnati, both of those teams are 5-4, and both of those teams are very much in the playoff hunt. So I don't understand, again, why this is the time for this to be happening, especially given, you know, you have such a big game. And maybe if they maybe I would understand a little more if Odell wasn't happy after the Cincinnati game because he didn't play well and they lost, and didn't get the numbers that he wanted to, and they lost. But other than that, I mean, again, they have everything they want in front of them, and I think that can't be taken away.
Let's take a look. Jason Lockenfor, a national NFL reporter, tweets this out. Browns OBJ may be able to reach some sort of financial resolution to end his time in Cleveland. As of now, they're not willing to waive him, and they are willing to burn a 53-man roster spot for him to stay away and excuse him indefinitely. That's a new one for me. This one isn't over. So that certainly indicates that the sources Jason Lockenfor has, which are usually pretty good ones, are indicating Odell ain't coming back anytime soon.
Right. And I think also the thing to think about there is that the Browns don't want him going anywhere else. I think that's why they didn't trade him. I think that's why they didn't release him yet, at least. I don't think they want him to play for another team. I would think they want him to be with the Browns to get back into the team atmosphere, to apologize and to kind of come back and be a renewed player. But at the same time, they don't want him going anywhere else. So, I mean, it's kind of like the J.R. Smith situation with the Cavaliers a couple years back where, they're going to pay him to not be with the team. And, when the time comes to release him, and they can do that. But other than that, they're going to keep him in Cleveland because that's where they want him to be. And they want him to play well here. So you're right. It doesn't sound like Odell Beckham Jr. is going to come back anytime soon. But, it's a very fluid situation.
Yep, that's a very accurate description of it, fluid. So some news out in Berea. Denzel Ward practiced. That's good news. Donovan Peoples-Jones practiced. Another good news. A couple guys that haven't played or didn't play in the last game. Jadeveon Clowney, Malik Jackson, Malik McDowell, Jarvis Landry, John Johnson, and, of course, Jack Conklin did not practice. So, again, you get Ward back. That's kind of important just given what they're going to face with the Bengals receiving core. Donovan Peoples-Jones obviously going to be needed if Odell Beckham Jr. likely not to be active for that game. So Browns still beat up on the defensive side of the ball, though, when you look at that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some significant guys out. But, again, it's good to have Denzel Ward back, especially, like you said, against a Bengals receiving core that's getting better. Jamar Chase, obviously, a huge part of that. Denzel is it's just always been one injury after another with him, and you just hope that he can stay healthy and avoid major injury. Greg Newsome, again, another guy who can play really, really well against that Cincinnati offense. So they need to, they need as much help as they can get defensively. I don't think they played terribly defensively against Pittsburgh. Obviously did not play well enough to win. But certainly, again, it's certainly an opportunity for the Browns to kind of say, hey, this is a moment for us. We need this win. Let's get out there. Let's play together. Let's do what we did in a couple of the earlier games against Minnesota, against Chicago. Get after the quarterback and, make life very difficult for Joe Burrow.
Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com, and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we will head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We will also talk more about the Browns trying to focus as the Cincinnati Bengals are waiting for them 1 o'clock Sunday down in Cincinnati. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine. Too late at night. But feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
Welcome back to Sports for CLE. We continue talking Browns with Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. So let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one on Odell Beckham Jr. says the problems with him in the offense, not all Baker Mayfield's doing.
Yeah, this is Roger Burley from Freeman, Ohio. Calling about the Odell Baker situation. If his dad would take the time to look at his son's playing since Odell has been in Cleveland, he would see that Odell has dropped and missed a lot of catches when he's on the field. That's why Baker don't trust him at all. I mean, look at his playing since he's been in Cleveland. Every time he gets on the field, we either barely win or we lose the game. I mean, it's not Baker's fault, that's Odell's fault. He has to go.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd go that far, but Hayden, it's not one thing. It's not as cut and dry. It's not as simple as it's Baker's fault or it's Odell's fault. It hasn't worked out for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think everybody gets a slice of the pie. I think when you look at this, everybody gets a slice. Every single person. Baker Mayfield gets a slice. OBJ gets a slice. Kevin Stefanski gets a slice. Again, Kevin Stefanski's offense isn't wide receiver friendly. There's no doubt about that. They run the football. They use their tight ends. They use their running backs in the pass game. I mean, it's not a run it out and they're run and gun offense where they're, firing the football over the field with their wide receivers and just let them play loose. So I think everybody has a role in this. And I think Odell has a role in this. Again, you talk about details. Maybe there are little details that Odell is not, kind of following or adhering to that the Browns need him to adhere to so that Baker Mayfield has more trust in him. I mean, there are so many issues that could happen here. And Baker Mayfield, again, Baker said today, there are throws he would want back 100%. There's definitely moments where he hasn't played his best. But I don't think that Baker Mayfield is the reason that, Odell Beckham Jr. is having, the problems that he's having. I think it's a combination of everything. I think everybody deserves a slice of the blame, and you got to go on from there.
Yeah, I would agree. And if it was simple, it would have been solved by now. Trust me. There's
Right.
too much at stake for it not to have been solved if it was that simple. Well, Kevin Stefanski was asked point blank, is there friction in the locker room? Is this kind of, as you worried about it, dividing the locker room? Here's Kevin Stefanski on that topic.
I think there's a legit feeling that we need to get a win this week. We have a big game against the Cincinnati Bengals, a really good team, another division opponent. I think the guys are laser focused. I see the challenge in trying to get a win. I mean, we're 4-4. We have to get a win. Our lives depend on it. Is the way we look at it. We're desperate, and that's where our focus is.
And Hayden, this is the type of thing that it can tear apart a locker room. It can also bring a locker room together. So it's there are, without question, some challenges before the Browns. But teams do rally when there is controversy, and this is controversial. I mean, I'd like to say it isn't, but it is.
Oh, it certainly is. And Baker Mayfield, during his press conference, kind of said that, like, this is we're not going to shy away from this. This is something that's going on, but we just have to handle it. And these guys know that I have every trust in the world in each of them. I love these guys. I want to play for them. I want to win for them. We want to win together. So I think Baker Mayfield handled his press conference with a lot of maturity. Kind of said he would put his ego and his pride aside to be the leader of this football team. And I think Baker is the leader of this football team. I think he handled that press conference like a leader. And he said it himself that maybe this could be a rallying cry. Maybe this could be something to where they can come together. Now that will be determined by whether the guys around Baker Mayfield, follow his lead and really kind of find a way to come together. Maybe Baker Mayfield kind of leads that charge if things don't work out with Odell. But you're right. There's definitely an opportunity for Baker Mayfield and this Browns team to come together and to galvanize, maybe against Odell Beckham Jr. Or if Odell comes back, maybe they can galvanize each other, with Odell. So there's definitely a moment here to let that happen. But if there's too much friction in the locker room and too many players picking sides, then obviously that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and that's the one thing. You can't really have, sides being chosen. So it'll be interesting. All right. Another voicemail of Truth and Reason, this one about Baker Mayfield.
Yes. The problem with the Browns is Baker Mayfield is not holding up to his end of the deal. The Browns defense is top 10 because it's skewed from the games against the Bears and the Texans. The defense is not going to perform against a good quarterback. We probably last in the league in 3rd and 10 or 3rd and long, whatever the situation may be. And siding with Baker Mayfield over Odell Beckham in and of itself seems like it makes sense because he's the quarterback versus the receiver. But you have a receiver that was on a Hall of Fame pace, then all of a sudden he's not on that pace with Baker Mayfield, and it makes no sense. The same with Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper. And Baker Mayfield's biggest problem outside of not making the best decisions quick enough and happy feet is he throws really, really hard passes to short check down routes and doesn't give people the opportunity to get the proper yards after catch. He's very panicky, and to be honest, I don't see him succeeding long term in the AFC North because of his lack of athletic ability and lack of size, which is also probably a reason that he doesn't attack the middle of the field or get to his second or third read.
There's a lot in there that I don't agree with. I don't think Baker Mayfield is seeing the field real well, as clearly and as well as he was last year, and I'm not sure why that is. I think that's one of the things that's going on is that he's just not seeing it clearly right now. But again, Odell Beckham may have been on a Hall of Fame track the first 3 years in his career, but the Giants weren't winning football games. So again, you're looking for winning football games. That's what you're looking for.
Right. Odell, I think, has had, obviously some bad luck with injury. I don't necessarily agree that the caller said that Jarvis Landry has taken a step back in terms of his production. I disagree with that. I think that this offense, again, when Kevin Stefanski came into this offense, they're going to not use their receivers as much. And that's just the bottom line. They're going to use their running backs. They're going to use their tight ends, and they're going to distribute the football. The Browns have a lot of playmakers. So, again, Jarvis Landry doesn't seem to be having a problem getting the ball, and I think that Baker has immense trust in Jarvis Landry as well. So, I don't think it's an Odell issue completely. I don't think it's a Baker Mayfield issue completely. I don't think it's a Kevin Stefanski issue completely. I think everybody deserves a piece of the blame, and people are going to side with Odell because Odell, has a great fan base, and he's a really likable guy, and has performed at a very, very high level for a long time. And, fans love him. Fans love him, no doubt. And there are fans that are going to side with Baker Mayfield because Baker Mayfield has that kind of charismatic thing about him, and is on the progressive commercials, and won a Heisman in Oklahoma and has done a lot of great things with the Browns. So I mean, there's going to be people that are pulling from every side. The bottom line is that there is not one reason that this hasn't worked. It is multiple reasons. It is a multitude of reasons. And again, I think Odell at this point is a good receiver. And needs to be better when his number's called upon. And he has had some drops, but Baker Mayfield needs to be better too at times. He's not made every perfect throw. I don't think everybody can see that. And, you said Baker Mayfield not seeing the field very well. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. And I definitely don't agree with the third or fourth or second or third read. Again, yeah, if the first read's there, you take it. I mean, that's what Kevin Stefanski has pounded into Baker Mayfield's head from day one. If the first read's there, you take it, and you throw the football, and you complete the pass. That is what Kevin Stefanski wants in his offense. He doesn't want Baker to look past his first read into a second and third read if the first read is there. So it's not so much that Baker is a one-read quarterback. It's so much that Baker Mayfield is being taught, and rightfully so, to throw the football to the first option if it is open, right? That's the whole point here. That's the whole point. Doesn't matter if there are other guys open. You throw the football to the first option. You guarantee yourself completion, and you move on from there.
Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we will see what the offense might look like if Odell Beckham Jr. is not there. We'll continue talking Browns, getting ready for the Bengals coming up at First Energy Stadium. Actually in Cincinnati at Paul Brown Stadium, 1 o'clock Sunday. Sports4CLE, we'll be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns football with Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. Kevin Stefanski was asked, can the Browns win with the health that Baker Mayfield has? Obviously less than 100%. Can this offense be effective enough to win with Baker at less than 100%?
I've seen Baker win football games making a ton of plays from the pocket. Some of those plays on the perimeter that you mentioned, Tony, I think have really been the defense designing to take some of those away. We have opportunities that we can make big plays from the pocket. We have this season. I think we will continue to.
Let's welcome back in Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. So, Hayden, can the Browns win with Baker Mayfield with that non-throwing shoulder banged up?
Yeah. I guess maybe I'm watching a different game than a lot of people. The game on Sunday, Baker Mayfield was the best thing the Browns had. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't catch the ball. Baker Mayfield made mostly the right reads, mostly the right throws. I mean, he put them in position twice to go down and score a touchdown. The first time Jarvis Landry fumbles the football. The second time Jarvis Landry drops the football twice, which is so uncharacteristic of Jarvis. And I'm not going to sit here and blame Jarvis and say that he was the reason they lost. But, like, you can't sit here and say Baker Mayfield was the reason they lost. Again, Baker Mayfield made a lot of good plays in that game, made a lot of good throws, seemed comfortable in the pocket, seemed to see the field relatively well. I think that there is far too much of an emphasis on not turning the football over. To the point where I think it's hindered Baker Mayfield a little bit, where he's kind of just scared to make a risky throw. But you got to respect him for kind of following what the offense, what they want him to do. So I may be watching a different game than other people, but Baker Mayfield did enough to win on Sunday. He absolutely did. The rest of the team failed him, in my opinion. Most of the rest of the team failed him. Obviously not everyone, but I think Jarvis failed him. I think the run game failed him. I think the defense failed him. I think there were certain Austin Hooper had the touchdown catch. And Baker Mayfield has failed his receivers at times too. But I don't. When you watch that game, go watch it again. Are there reads that Baker Mayfield could have made better? Yes. But, should balls have been caught? Should balls have not have been fumbled? Yes, 100%. So, of course, the Browns can win with Baker Mayfield. Absolutely. You saw it on Sunday. They didn't do it because of, obviously exterior circumstances, but they were in a position twice where they should have gone down and won that game.
Yeah, that's fair enough assessment of the way Mayfield played against the Steelers. So Baker talked about the distraction with Odell this week and views it as another challenge, and he's pretty confident that the group in there can overcome this challenge just like it has in the past.
We're having to multitask right now, and that's just the unfortunate circumstance of what's going on. We're having to multitask instead of just being able to focus on winning, and that's been created by something on the outside. So we need to find a way to do that. And you know what? We've had pretty big challenges before, considering what we went through last year during COVID and having people out and having to meet online during virtual meetings. This group has been challenged before, and so this is nothing different. This is a time for us to stick together as a team and not let anything else divide us, and that's how I'm going to handle it. I was brought here to do that, to bring people together to win, and that's exactly how I'm going to handle it.
And, Hayden, when you look at it, some people might say, what's the offense look like without Odell? 29 points against the Chiefs without Odell, 31 points against the Texans without Odell. So this offense can function without Odell Beckham Jr.
I mean, I don't believe this, but I believe that it's a fact. I mean, the offense functions better without Odell. If you're looking at pure stats and pure efficiency or whatever, the offense functions better without Odell. I don't believe that should be the case. I don't know why that is the case. I don't understand why Odell Beckham Jr. Doesn't fit with this offense. It should work in reality, but it doesn't. It doesn't seem to be working that way right now. I'm not saying that can't change. So something has to change, be it with Baker, be it with Odell. If Odell's going to come back, something's got to change. Something has to change because the Browns won games last year without Odell. They, played well without Odell this year. Obviously, the Chiefs win should have been a win. Or the Chiefs loss should have been a win. I mean, they, fumbled the ball with Nick Chubb and obviously Jamie Gillen, and that was just, they had a recipe for disaster. But they moved the ball down the field exceptionally well in that game, and they've proven that they can do it without Odell. So I don't think that's why I don't think the Browns are in such a hurry to get him back or send him away. I think that they know that, hey, we can, if he wants to be here, we can win with him. But if he doesn't want to be here, our offense functions pretty well without him. So I think they're kind of in a win-win with Odell in that regard, if nothing else.
So Kevin Stefanski was also asked, a lot was made last year. The bye week, they kind of tweaked the offense and did some different things during that bye week. Kevin Stefanski was asked, is it time to kind of tweak the offense, and is it a disadvantage that you don't have the bye until significantly later this year? Here's Kevin Stefanski on kind of switching up the offense.
I think there's opportunities. And listen, I've told you guys, and I believe this, and I can think back to multiple times in that game where we called some bad plays, designed some bad plays, just didn't get guys open. And that's going to happen, and we'll work really hard to make sure that we're putting guys in position. You're not going to hit every throw. Quarterbacks, across the league, you watch it, it's hard. And sometimes you're going to miss a throw, sometimes you're going to have a drop. And we're realistic about that. Having said that, Zach, I tell you that I know what this group is capable of. I've seen it. We just have to do it more consistently. I think that's the NFL. I really think that's a week-to-week proposition. I don't think you need the bye week to implement a bunch of changes. That's what we as coaches need to do week to week.
And Hayden, that's one of the things they have to figure out. What can they hang their hat on this year with this group offensively? They haven't really figured that out yet.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Chubb talked about it a little earlier. I mean, this offense is built on running the football. And, that's what they're going to do regardless. Their offensive line is too good to not do that. Nick Chubb is too good to not do that. Kareem Hunt is too good to not do that. So when you're talking about them running the football and say they have a game where they don't run a belt, they got to be really, really efficient in the pass game. And they got to do things. They can't have drops. They can't have bad throws by Baker. They can't have bad decisions. That's why, the passing offense hasn't looked good, because it's either been Baker's been off or the receivers have been off. And, I think it's a little bit of a combination of both. And I think that this offense can be good. I think it should be good. They have too much talent. And I think that, again, regardless of whether it's Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, whether it's Baker Mayfield, they got to find a way to get things going again, because we've seen Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield can make the throws. He can be efficient in the pocket. He's better out of the pocket, and they haven't done that as much. Maybe that's to do with the injury, but he can make the throws. He can make every throw. It's not that he doesn't have the ability. He just at times has not. So they got to find a way for this thing to come together. Maybe the best thing for this offense is for Odell to leave. I don't necessarily agree with that. But again, we'll see what happens when it comes to fruition on the field on Sundays.
Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. On the other side of the break, we will continue to talk a little bit about the offense, look ahead to the Bengals game coming up Sunday down in Cincinnati. Sports for CLE, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Four and 4 Browns getting ready to travel down south to Cincinnati for another AFC North game. Well, Emmanuel Acho from FS1 Speak for Yourself talked about who's to blame for Odell's lack of production. Here's Emmanuel Acho.
It's not on Baker Mayfield. It's on Kevin Stefanski, and I will show y'all exactly why with the Kevin Stefanski effect. Before Kevin Stefanski was the OC of the Minnesota Vikings, Adam Thielen averaged 7 catches a game, 7.1. Stephon Diggs averaged 6.8 catches a game. Once Kevin Stefanski became OC, Adam Thielen, he only averaged 3 catches a game. Diggs only averaged 4 catches a game. Thielen's percent of catches dropped by 57%. Diggs dropped by 38%. Y'all remember, Odell had 1,000 yards in Cleveland with Baker Mayfield as his quarterback. But then Kevin Stefanski comes over, and since then, Odell Beckham's catches go from 4.6 a game to 3.1 a game, dropping by 32%. Just look at the far right column. When Kevin Stefanski takes over, the team gets better, but the star receivers, their catches per game drop by 57%, 38%, and 32%. Y'all have the wrong guy. It's not Baker Mayfield who is the primary person at fault for Odell Beckham's lack of production. It is Kevin Stefanski. That's historically been the case with all Pro Bowl or all pro receivers that Kevin Stefanski has coached.
Hayden Grove, those are very interesting numbers. Bottom line is you're not trying to have a 1,000-yard receiver. You're trying to win football games.
Yes, 100%. And that's what I said before. This Kevin Stefanski offense is not built for wide receivers. It's not. It's not. Maybe they'll take a shot play every now and then with a guy like Odell, but this is not the offense for Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, and a big group of wide receivers. It's not. And that doesn't matter, like you said, because they were able to win games last year using the running game, using their tight ends. That's why they went out. That's why when Kevin Stefanski got to town, they didn't go out and get wide receivers. They were not looking for wide receivers. They went out and got Austin Hooper. They went out and drafted Harrison Bryant. They went out and got Jack Conklin. They went out and got Jedrick Wills. I mean, again, they went this direction so that they could bolster that offensive line, bolster their tight end unit, bolster their running back unit, and go from there. That's what this offense is predicated upon. That's what this offense is built upon. And maybe the reports of Odell not talking to Kevin Stefanski are true because maybe Odell's just not done with the Kevin Stefanski offense. And maybe it's not all about Baker Mayfield. When you talk about, Odell Beckham Jr. and what he was posting yesterday, yeah, I mean, it definitely seems slanted towards Baker, but there's no guarantee that Odell Beckham Jr. feels that way. And there's no guarantee that Odell Beckham Jr. thinks Baker Mayfield is the problem. Maybe Odell Beckham Jr. thinks this Kevin Stefanski offense is the problem, that he's not going to get the touches that he needs. Maybe Odell Beckham Jr. wants to go to a team that's going to run around and throw the ball all over the field like the, Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs or even like the Green Bay Packers, teams that, air it out and throw 40, 50 times a game. I mean, that might be his dream, but also, do you want to win? That's always a part of it. Not that those teams aren't winning, but do you want to win? And I think the Browns have what it takes to win. I don't think they've done it well enough this year. Obviously, the defense hasn't played well enough. They've had some bad luck with injury. They've had some bad luck with the turnover margin. I still think everything's in front of the Browns, which is why I think it's so surprising that Odell Beckham Jr. chose now to really put this fit into the Browns situation.
So Nick Chubb was asked about the vibe around the team, as well as them getting ready to face the Bengals in what is a critical divisional game.
Yeah, I think the vibe's still pretty good. We're not distracted at all. We're not, paying attention to much that's going on. We're focused on Cincinnati and trying to get back in the race.
With that, though, 4-4, is there a deeper sense of urgency to make sure the season doesn't slip away here?
I mean, that's how it is every week. Every week you want to go in, you want to win, have a sense of urgency about yourself. I mean, yeah, we're not in the best spot right now, but we still have everything ahead of us. And just starting today, go out, have a great practice, and have a good game on Sunday.
And Hayden, he echoed something you've said a number of times. Everything is in front of them, and that's true, but, their margin for error is getting awfully small.
That's also true. You're right. That's the whole point here is that, they had an opportunity to give themselves some leeway. They had an opportunity to say, hey, we're a 5-2 football team. We're a 5-3 football team. And instead, they're here at 4-4. They've given themselves zero leeway. So you're right. Everything they want is in front of them. If they beat Cincinnati, they should go down and beat the Patriots. They should go out and beat the Detroit Lions. Then we're talking about a 7-4 football team as opposed to a 4-4 football team. You got to start winning games. And this is the biggest week of them all, because if you lose this game, the best you're probably going to be able to do is be at 6-5. And, that's not really where you want to be either going into the games against the Baltimore Ravens back to back. So there's definitely an opportunity for this team. You're right, though. They're giving themselves zero leeway. They're giving themselves zero cushion in both the playoff race, the division race, whatever. They're giving themselves no cushion. But their fact remains, if they can beat the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday, then we're talking about a team that's right back in the thick of it, and maybe all this gets pushed past behind them.
Yeah, and remember, AFC, everybody has at least 2 losses. So they're only 2 back in the loss column to the AFC. All right, let's focus in on the Bengals. When you look at that, what are some keys? How do you think this game plays out? And what do you see Browns-Bengals?
Well, if Mike White can throw for 400 yards in you, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. I thought Baker Mayfield played well enough to win last week. I think everybody else let him down. I think there's been weeks where Baker Mayfield didn't play well enough to win, but last week was not one of them. And he needs to go out and play very, very well again. This is the game you got to win. I don't care. There's no margin for error, zero, zip, none. He knows that this is a very, 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 very big game. You got to play well on the offensive line. You got to play well with Nick Chubb. You got to, complete passes. You can't have mistakes. And against the Pittsburgh Steelers, they only had one turnover, and that was Jarvis Landry's fumble. And Jarvis Landry has earned the benefit of the doubt with me, 100%. He had a bad game. You move on and you go forward. And I think that he comes back, he bounces back. I think Baker Mayfield's got to be as accurate as he was. He's got to make timely decisions and go from there. So. I think this game is very winnable for Cleveland. I think Cleveland is as good a football team as Cincinnati Bengals without a doubt. So for that being said, we'll see how it goes going forward. We'll see, if they don't play well and Baker Mayfield doesn't play well, then I think we start to have some real conversations about what this Browns team is about and where they're going to go in the future. Until then, if Baker Mayfield, I have faith that Baker Mayfield can go out there and win a big game against a big opponent, and they can do it again collectively as a team and as a unit.
I think the defensive line has to have a pretty dominating performance. That's a Bengals offensive line that's better than it was last year, but still not great. And a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow. That's a guy you don't want to give a lot of time to because of the weapons he has to throw the ball to.
Yeah, you got to play well in that defensive line. That's what you're built on defensively. If you can get to the quarterback, you're going to be fine. That's what this team is built on. If Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney can have a big day, if they can put pressure. I mean, again, they didn't play particularly well against the Steelers, but I didn't think they were bad by any stretch. I think maybe you need a little more pressure. But Big Ben is a savvy veteran. He has played in a lot of football games, far more than Joe Burrow. So maybe this is an opportunity for the Browns to really get after Joe Burrow, get to the quarterback, make him make bad decisions. He's definitely not a guy who, doesn't turn the football over. You can get him to throw an interception. You can get him to fumble the football. It's just a matter of, doing it consistently and getting to him and making him make those bad decisions, bad reads. And then maybe Myles Garrett, maybe it's time for Myles Garrett to get one of those strip sacks. We've seen Myles Garrett get a bunch of sacks this year, none of the strip variety. That's not all his fault. I mean, again, guys are protecting the ball and he's doing all that he can to get back there, but they just need to find a way to turn the football over, and they have not done that this year as a defense.
Agree wholeheartedly. Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. Hayden, thanks so much. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you joining us. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Take care, Dave.
All right, Hayden Grove. Make sure you read them. Pages of the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. We're step aside. Take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we'll continue to talk Browns-Bengals. Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan joins us. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns, getting ready for the Bengals down in Cincinnati, 1 o'clock on Sunday. RG3, former Browns quarterback, on ESPN's Get Up this morning, talked about the Browns and Odell Beckham Jr.
Listen, I get everything about the dad, but
Odell Beckham, he's not hurting this Cleveland Browns team, but they are hurting him. They're hurting his legacy, his reputation. I mean, people out there disrespecting him, saying he can't play anymore, he can't catch it just because of some of the injuries that he's had and some of the drops. But when you look at Odell Beckham Jr., him and Baker can't even make cereal together, all right, because they can't decide what milk to use. Is it 2% whole milk? Maybe we use a little goat milk, or maybe we'll just go with kefir. These two guys are not on the same page. They don't mix. They don't mix well together, right? And when I look at Odell, you watch the tape, it tells a different story. He is getting open, but him and Baker aren't on the same page, and it's also this offensive scheme. This scheme is not built to have a primary receiver, and Odell Beckham is that guy. When you pay him that much money, he has to be the guy you're trying to get the ball to 4 or 5 times in the first 15 plays, and that's just not what they're doing with him.
I guess no pressure, no diamonds fits RG3. Let's welcome in Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan. Yeah, I don't even know where to go with that one. Odell, his legacy kind of fell off the table after the first 3 years of production. The main thing is, what is a team he's been on won? That's my question.
Yeah, and Dave, the biggest part that I take away is, at what point is it the Browns' responsibility for Odell's legacy? You know, I understand that, you know, some people have talked about, like what he was saying, where, you know, the drops, everything like that. Okay, fine. But at the same time, you know, that's also on Odell. You know, I'm not saying that he is a washed up receiver. I'm not saying that he can't play anymore. But at the same time, in clutch moments, I don't know what it is, Dave. I don't have the answers. But at the same time, Odell has had a ton of drops this year. And like he said, Baker and him, they have a disconnect. I don't know what it is. I have tried to logically figure this out for weeks and over the last year. I don't know. I have been a big supporter of Odell here in Cleveland. But at the same time, I don't know what is gone wrong and what has gone wrong for this situation as a whole. But at the same time, it's not on Kevin Stefanski to cater to Odell at that point. You know, for him, it's about setting up what's best for the offense. And, you know, I will say I did think that, you know, Odell would have success here in Cleveland. But at the same time, I don't know what it is at this point. You know, again, if you do want to get this situation figured out, and I'll give Odell credit to this point where, you know, again, you haven't really heard much dissension and, you know, a lot of unhappiness behind the scenes up until now. I don't know what it was where he just all of a sudden just threw up the bad signal, and all of his family and friends just started to throw out free Odell, free Odell, free Odell. This felt like the closest that we've had since 2016 to 2017, where something out of, you know, a fax machine getting sabotaged by Sashi Brown to stop the A.J. McCarron deal. Now you have Odell at this point sending his dad out there like he's a high school kid who's getting benched by his coach, who's, you know, using some of the other players that might have more favor with the coaching staff. I don't understand what it is. This felt like the most juvenile BS that we've had to deal with in a while. And it's just unprofessional. And to be honest, it undermines a lot of what this entire team and the culture that everybody has been talking up. It really undermines just about everything that Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski and company have really built up to this point.
Yeah, and you know, again, Kevin Stefanski's system does not, it's not receiver friendly, so it shouldn't be a surprise. Stephon Diggs wanted out of it. That's why they ended up trading him to Buffalo. The other thing is people keep, you know, why didn't you trade Odell? You know, why didn't they trade him? He probably would not have passed a physical given the way his shoulder is banged up, so that would not have enabled them to trade him at the trade deadline. And I think that also kind of coincides with, you know, his frustration level is, you know, one target against the Steelers and the trade deadline. He was hoping to move on. Again, I don't think that shoulder would pass a physical that would enable you to trade him. Baker Mayfield kind of talked about not letting this drama, you know, involving what's going on now with Odell, divide the team and become a huge distraction.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is it's definitely different than you know, a normal sports media circumstance. So it comes down to realizing our priorities. Our job is to go out there and do anything we can to win, and we have to be focused because Cincinnati's playing well right now. And you know, it comes down to knowing where your heart's at, knowing your teammates extremely well, and that's something that I take an extreme amount of pride, and I truly care about each one of our guys. So it's about that, and it's about me going out there and being able to do my job this week, focus on the week of practice, see what happens, and then go out there Sunday and execute.
And Mac, Baker handled the situation as well as you could expect, and what you would expect your quarterback to handle it like.
Yeah, you almost expect him to handle it like the 7-year pro instead of Odell. You know, it's crazy to me because, again, and I give him credit for handling this as well as he has, but at the same time, you can't help but have this be a distraction. You know, there are reports that, you know, there are certain players that are Team Odell and certain players that are Team Baker at this point. It's dividing the locker room. And that's the one thing that I worry about because, again, you know, it was such a deflating loss on Sunday, and being there, seeing the way that the players were reacting to it and some of the guys were reacting to it, the entire stadium felt like there was an air kind of being let out after that fumble by Jarvis Landry. And again, there's no slander against Jarvis Landry. I'm just, again, putting it out there. It was something that really deflated the fans, and you could feel the energy kind of leave the stadium at that point. But, you know, this is a crucial week, especially against a young up-and-coming team in the Cincinnati Bengals that are really rolling to this point, obviously coming off of a loss to the Jets. But, you know, overall, a phenomenal season so far with, you know, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase on the same page. I know that's crazy to think about here in Cleveland, at least for right now. But, you know, again, this is something where when you're trying to focus on salvaging your season at this point and you're going up against plenty of playoff teams, the Browns have the second most difficult schedule in the NFL through the end of the year. So at this point, the Browns have to be focused and have to be going all out at this point. And when you have a distraction like the Odell situation, yeah, I think it does divide the locker room to an extent. I don't think if it didn't, I would be shocked. And, you know, I look at the way that this has played out, and I worry about the way that this team is going to be playing going forward, and I'm fascinated to see how this plays out on Sunday.
Yeah, it will be interesting. So Nick Chubb realizes teams are going to be loading the box, trying to take away the run, but the Browns can't change, you know, what they're trying to do offensively, according to Nick Chubb.
I think we got to stick with what we do best. And right now, I mean, over the years, it's been a running game. It's our bread and butter. So no matter what they throw at us, we should be able to move the ball no matter what. We weren't able to on Sunday. So I think we got to do a lot of things better as a team, as, you know, as a running team, and everybody as a whole. I mean, I feel like I didn't do enough. I know guys feel like they didn't do enough. So just on us to make sure we get things changed and run the ball better.
And to be quite frank about it, Bengals defense is not the Steelers defense, especially up front.
It's not quite the Steelers defense, but I will say they have been much improved. Trey Hendrickson has been worth every single dime, and, you know, familiar face Larry Ogunjobi in the middle. Instead of being utilized as a nose tackle like he was here in Cleveland, he's a lot slimmer since he came out of college. He's been really, you know, working out, making sure that he's lost a lot of weight. So they're moving him over to that 3 technique spot with DJ Reader there in the middle. Then you got Sam Hubbard on the other side. They have a really good front 4, but, you know, to your point, they're not going to be that same run stuffer that you have when you have TJ Watt, Alonzo Highsmith, and Cam Hayward right in the middle. So, you know, I look at this defensive front 7 for the Bengals. The Browns had to take advantage early and really need to take advantage of those plays on the ground. But I also think that they do need to air it out a little bit, maybe get a couple of deep shots in early, you know, maybe a Donovan Peoples-Jones, maybe Anthony Schwartz. And at that point, that opens up the rest of your offense early on and throughout the rest of the game so that, you know, the Steelers on Sunday, they were putting 8 men in the box and they were daring you to beat them deep. From where we were sitting and where I was able to watch the game from this past Sunday, you know, again, you could tell that they were aiming to stop the Browns running game. And you know what? If they beat them deep, they beat them deep. They were perfectly fine with losing in that sense. But for the Browns, it's about getting some of those deep completions and, you know, maybe taking advantage of some of those shots. At that point, you can go ahead and get some points up on the board.
Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. On the other side of the break, we will talk more about the Browns getting ready for the Bengals. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns, getting ready to face the Bengals down in Cincinnati Sunday at 1 o'clock. The Browns know that Blake Hance will be their starting right tackle as Jan Conklin will miss a couple of games. Hance talked about the challenge that the Bengals, their revamped defensive line, gives the Browns offense.
Yeah, they're, really talented. Their whole front is really talented. They all work really hard, relentless motor type of guys. They're all smart. They're all good with their hands. So we got a tough task. They do a good job in the run game. Their whole front does. So, we got a tough task ahead of us this week for sure.
When you talk about relentless, it seems like Hendrickson gets a lot of his sacks kind of on second and third effort. So as a tackle, what do you have to do maybe differently?
Yeah, it's how we always want to play, but you just always have to finish. If you stop the first move, he's not going to stop, and not many ends in our league do stop. But, against guys like that who are just keep finishing, keep throwing another move, you just have to be, ready to keep doing the same and never stop and just always assume that the quarterback still got the ball back there.
And when you look at this game, Mac, the Browns are going to have to be able to run the ball when they want to. They have to run the ball effectively. They're going to have to score some points, too. The Bengals offense is just that good.
Dave, real quick, I want to say this is the first time I've ever seen Blake Hance's face. Like in the last 2 years, I can't recall that I've ever seen his face. So that's a great start. But at the same time, I do agree with you. They do need to get that ground game going. And I think that with the way that the offensive line is structured to this point, I trust in Blake Hance, even though, again, I thought that he was a faceless blocker at this point. I do think that he's going to be able to take care of business on Sunday. He's shown, time and time again that he can handle what is thrown in front of him, whether it be, Von Miller or TJ Watt. He's been able to handle things for the most part. So, I think that they're going to be able to have some success on the ground this Sunday. Maybe not necessarily up the middle because, again, you have Larry Ogunjobi, DJ Reader, both pretty good run stoppers in the middle there. So, I think that they're going to have some advantages around the edge against Hendrickson and against Hubbard. But I'm going to be interested to see how they go ahead and attack that, maybe mix in some play action at that point, too, if they do get some early success on the ground.
All right, let's take a look. Pete Prisco from CBSSports.com predicts this one, and he likes the Bengals to win this one by a score of 30-24. And he says the Browns can't afford to fall further behind in the division, but they expect a big day from Joe Burrow. Mac Robinson, when you look at this, what do you expect? I think it's going to be a close game. I keep going back and forth on who I think is going to win this. What do you see this game playing out in some keys?
I think the big key for this one is going to be with Denzel Ward. He started practicing today. All of a sudden, you have a full-strength secondary, which has been a rarity so far this season. So I look at the way these corners are going to be able to, cover on the outside. You have T. Higgins. You have Tyler Boyd. You have Jamar Chase. Again, the best rookie wide receiver out there. Dave, as I know you well know that. But again, I look at the way that these receivers have been able to play. On top of that, they also have CJ Uzama. There you go. Had to get the pronunciation right. But, he's been able to perform well for them at tight end. So they have a multitude of options in the passing game, and Joe Mixon obviously out of the backfield. I think the Browns need to step up on Sunday, but at the same time, I do think that with the way that they were able to step up against Pittsburgh, I think that they can cause some pressure to Joe Burrow. And I think that if they get to him early, it might throw him off his game enough to where that can go ahead, cause some turnovers for this defense and cause some problems for the Cincinnati offense. So I do agree with you. you. I think that this will be a close game, but I do think that overall, I think the Browns will end up pulling this one out. I think it will be a close one. Browns possibly winning by a field goal.
I think in order to do that, they have to win the turnover battle. That's something they didn't do against the Steelers, and that one turnover was costly. And people will always give me grief when I say the turnover battle. Think of it in terms of extra possessions. Every time you turn the ball over, you get an extra possession. Every time that you turn the ball over to your opponent, they get an extra possession. That extra possession, Steelers had one more possession than the Browns. That turnover really cost them. Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan. As always, Mac, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much.
Of course, Dave, always love hopping on with you guys.
All right, Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan. That'll do it for this edition of Sports4CLE. We will see you again tomorrow, 4 o'clock. Scheduled guest, Tim Bielek from cleveland.com and The Plain Dealer. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow at 4 on Sports4CLE.